Hello, my name is Naira Muhammad, an undergraduate student studying petroleum and petrochemical engineering at Cairo University. I'm in my third year and I'm expected to graduate hopefully in 2025. Amongst the three topics, or let me say the triple E topics, energy, earth, and environment, I chose to talk about industrial emissions, which goes under the environmental category. And the reason for choosing this particular topic is that it's of a great of an importance to me and due to its significant impact on both environment and society. So, without jumping to the following slides to know more about my reasons for choosing this topic, we're gonna go together throughout the presentation, hoping that the knowledge shared today would empower you to create positive outcomes and take serious actions towards the environment. And of course, to raise awareness to the upcoming generations, because these generations really need to know more about the importance of taking care of your environment. What is industrial emissions? Industrial emissions are the release of pollutants and harmful gases into the air from factories, power plants, and other industrial activities. We could say that they release a symphony of particles and gases into the air, and it's like a complex dance. These emissions sway and mingle, and of course, leaving their mark on the environment. So, from this, we could say that it doesn't only harm nature, but it also leaves a mark on humans. So, by this, we could say also that it affects human health. So, balancing the rhythm of industry with the need for a cleaner world is the real challenge we face. And believe me, if this issue is left unaddressed, consequences can be severe and far reaching. So, the longer we delay in reducing these emissions or reducing these industrial emissions, the more irreversible and catastrophic these effects will become. These are some of the consequences caused by industrial emissions. And as we know that industrial emissions, and specifically greenhouse gases, for example, like carbon dioxide, they definitely contribute to climate change because of the accumulation of gases in the atmosphere, which causes global warming, which is something that I'm going to highlight in the following slide. Also, changes in climate patterns increases the crop yield, which can affect food production and agriculture sectors. It can also contribute to more frequent forest fires, and not only this, but it also contributes to sea level rise, leading to loss of land territory. And needless to say that the air pollution caused by the industrial emissions can lead to respiratory problems, cardiovascular diseases, and many, many more of health consequences. What is global warming? It's a phenomenon that has been observed and studied by scientists over several decades. It refers to the long term increase in the average temperature of the Earth's climate system, primarily due to the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So, when carbon dioxide and other air pollutants build up in the atmosphere, they absorb sunlight and solar rays that have already reflected off the surface of the Earth. And normally, this radiation would escape into space. But because these pollutants may linger in the atmosphere for many, many, many years, they trap heat and make the planet hotter. So we have carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, water vapor, and synthetic fluorinated gases. All of these gases that I have mentioned are referred to as greenhouse gases. What are greenhouse gases? They are gases that is present in the Earth's atmosphere that have the ability and its main function is to trap heat. And as I have said before, that these gases allow sunlight to pass through the atmosphere and then reach the Earth's surface, But the problem here that they prevent the heat generated by sunlight from escaping back into space. There is a gas that I forgot to mention, which is the ozone. It's a greenhouse gas, by the way, and it's found in the in the upper Earth's atmosphere, which we can call it stratosphere. And in the stratosphere, it protects us from harmful ultraviolet radiations, while in the troposphere, or the ground level, it's a pollutant and a greenhouse gas. Let's see some of sources of industrial emissions. We have manufacturing process, like chemical reactions involved in the production of goods from raw materials. All of these can release greenhouse gases, and these emissions can occur from the usage of certain chemicals such as hydrofluorocarbons, which is used in refrigeration or air conditioning. And then we have the transportation sector. Uh, it could include road vehicles, airplanes, ships, and trains. All of these are major sources of industrial emissions. And the burning of fossil fuels that occur in engines and turbines releases also greenhouse gases, which are methane, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and they release it into the atmosphere. Then we have the energy sector, which is a significant contributor to industrial emissions. It includes generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity, and not only this, but it also produces and consumes various forms of energy. There are also energy intensive industries that require significant energy consumption, like steel production, cement manufacturing, which involves usually a high temperature process which releases significant amount of carbon dioxide. There is an important note that you should know that the pharmaceutical industry is estimated to directly contribute to about 52 megatons of carbon dioxide equivalent of global greenhouse gas emissions each year, which is a huge number, and that means that the pharmaceutical industry is the most industry which contributes to the industrial emissions. Automobiles also emit methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, and of course carbon dioxide, but the mentioned gases emit fewer emissions than carbon dioxide. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a significant impact. No, it does have a significant impact, and that's because they have a larger global warming potential. So it doesn't matter how which gases emit fewer emissions or more emissions, it still have a significant impact due to the GWP or the global warming potential. And here are some of the preventions. We have electrical or transportation. For example, we have electrical vehicles, and as you know that nowadays you can charge any electrical vehicle or plug in a hybrid vehicle at home or at a public charging station. It's like similar to the energy generated by nearby power plants. We have blending also. It's the concept of using biofuels to refuel vehicles, which reduces emissions. And of course, we know renewable energy. It uses the power of wind, sun, water, tides to generate electricity. And when it comes to be compared to the conventional energy sources, renewable energy produces almost no or very little amount of greenhouse gases when producing power. And then we have nuclear power. It generates around 20% of the country's electricity with almost also no greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, we have CCS, which stands for carbon capture and storage. It's a technology that enables the underground storage of carbon dioxide emissions, and it's capable of capturing up to 90% of the facility's carbon emissions. So, as the first step is to capture carbon dioxide, it involves three main steps, which is the post-combustion capture, which involves separation of carbon dioxide from flue gases after the fuel is burned. And then we have the pre-combustion, which involves removing carbon dioxide before fuel is burned. and we have oxyfuel combustion, which is the burning fuel in pure oxygen to yield only carbon dioxide and water. Once the carbon dioxide is captured, now it needs to be transported to a suitable storage sites, and this could be done whether through pipelines or by shipping it in the liquid form. And there are several factors that I have to put it into consideration. One of the important factors is that I have to make sure that the infrastructure is designed carefully to ensure a safe and efficient transfer of carbon dioxide. Then the final step is storing the captured carbon dioxide deep underground, where in the geological formations. These formations could include, for example, aquifers or depleted oil and gas reservoirs. Then the carbon dioxide is injected into these formations, and over time it becomes trapped and stored securely. And now let's talk about photosynthesizing hydrogen. This technology is also known as artificial photosynthesis, and it aims to imitate the natural process of photosynthesis in plants to produce hydrogen fuel from sunlight, water, and a catalyst. While this technology is still in the research and development stage, but let's discuss the basic concept involved in that technology. Just like in natural photosynthesis, the process begins by capturing sunlight using a light-absorbing material, and then this material absorbs photons from sunlight to provide energy needed for the following reactions. And then the absorbed light energy is used to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. And of course, this separation process or this step requires a catalyst to facilitate the separation process of hydrogen and oxygen atoms from the water molecules. And then the separated hydrogen atoms is then combined with each other to form molecular hydrogen, which can be then collected and stored as a clean and renewable energy source. Coming to the sustainable aviation fuel, it's a type of biofuel used to power aircraft, but it's different from the conventional or the traditional jet fuel, as it aims for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. This involves, or this process or production process of the sustainable aviation fuel involves several steps, and it starts with choosing my feedstock. It could be cooking oil, agricultural waste, municipal waste, and then these, of course, feedstocks are chosen based on several criteria, like, for example, the availability, sustainability, compatibility with the production process, and then it's then converted. To convert it into a usable fuel, it undergoes several techniques, such as hydroprocessing, fermentation, and of course the goal for this conversion process is to transform this fuel into a fuel that is very close to the conventional jet fuel in composition and of course performance. And then we blend it with the conventional jet fuel to allow for easier integration into existing aircraft and infrastructure, making it a good option actually for reducing carbon emissions in the aviation industry. Finally, we have a carbon trapper, which is the same as carbon capture and storage, CCS, and that I guess we have mentioned several times throughout the presentation, and we talked about it in detail when we talked about zero carbon cement. Also, we could use low carbon fuels in the cement industry, for example, replacing coal with renewable energy sources to reduce the carbon footprint of cement production. Air pollution resulting from industrial emissions and exposure to pollutants can have various of health effects. For example, sulfur dioxide is emitted mainly from fossil fuel consumption, and it can cause respiratory irritation, and of course it's very harmful to individuals with lung diseases. Then we have carbon monoxide, which is a toxic gas produced by the incomplete combustion of carbon fuels, and high levels of carbon monoxide can lead to reducing oxygen delivery to the body's organs and tissues. And then we have ozone, which is a pollutant formed by the reaction of sunlight with pollutants like nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds. And exposure to high levels of ozone also can cause respiratory issues. Industrial emissions can also contaminate water bodies and soil, leading to environmental degradation, and which can harm aquatic ecosystems, affect water quality, and of course put people or human health under risk, as they're going to drink from that water and that water is contaminated. So everything, we can say that everything is connected. Volatile organic compounds are organic molecules with limited solubility in water and high vapor pressure. They are synthetic substances created by humans and employed in production of, for example, refrigerants, paints, or medications. Signs of exposure to harmful volatile organic compounds are the following: benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylenes. These are called BTEX, where they are found naturally in crude oil and gasoline. And it's not necessary. Signs of exposure to harmful volatile organic compounds are the following: benzene, toluene, ethylbenzene, and xylenes. These are called BTEX, where they are found naturally in crude oil and gasoline. And it's not necessary to be burned or used as a fuel, as they are also found as it's released to the environment. So how to prevent volatile organic compounds from polluted air? The simplest way is better ventilation, as it generally results in better indoor air quality, and it can be eliminated using activated carbon air purifiers and filters. And usually pollutants can be eliminated in enclosed spaces by increasing the amount of fresh air. A survey was conducted mainly to school students to see if they are familiar with greenhouse effect and its impact on the environment or not. And these are the percentages. 85% said yes and 14% said no. And these are some of the comments added on ways to reduce these emissions. Someone said putting some devices to filter these emissions and reduce them, use electric cars, make car checkups periodically, plant a tree, and stop throwing rubbish and surplus crops into rivers. So now, we could ask ourselves several questions. If we reduce these emissions, would we have a polluted environment? The answer is no. Would humans be posed to risks of health issues? The answer is also no. So yes, go green, breathe clean. After all, it's the behavior of humans that contributes in the pollution that occurs, and we must all unite to achieve a single goal and follow the solutions recommended to attain a healthy lifestyle. Not only for us, but for our future generations. And raising awareness to the upcoming generations would have a real significant impact. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, they need to know the importance on taking care of your environment in order to be able to take serious actions towards negative habits. So nothing is impossible until it's done, and for sure there's nothing better than a person who wants to live in a good atmosphere. These are some of the resources that helped me in doing that presentation. Presentation has come to an end. I hope you enjoyed the topic and knew my reasons at the end and why I chose environmental sector amongst the other sectors, earth and energy, and why particularly I chose to talk about industrial emissions. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation. I really appreciate your interest and attention, and I hope that the information shared has been valuable and insightful. Once again, thank you. Thank you for being part of this presentation.